several models for presenting marketing plans. No? So why do we want models or templates? Again, if you recall the I Love Marketing model, models allow us directions, makes it have valid decisions because they are useful for understanding, but we should know there are limitations. No, similar to a traffic light, works most of the time, but not all of the time. But in general, useful to have models and templates. Now we have 6. No, so I mentioned the ZYXW. I started this model around 2015. There was the Spader model, which actually was the template used by my marketing professor. Again, when I was an MBA student in 1994. There's a SOSTAC model, circa 2012. There's a get to buy strategy, which is very campaign focused. We had a guest speaker, Jonathan Hawson, 2017. There's another model, Sci OEM, will you see later. And the last one is the 11P marketing plan. So just to make it more confusing for you. No, so let me just repeat what I recommend. I actually recommend 1 and 6, but knowing 2, 3, 4, and 5 will help you put some more elements in the ZYX and the 11P. So again, the Z is describe the end in mind you want for Silong Cafe, the brand. Do you want more customers? Do you want more likes for their page? Increase their sales? Do you want to increase the branches? You have to be very clear as far as what are the outcomes that you want for the brand. You can do it a 1 year or a 3 year outcomes that you want, but be very specific. So start with that. This is what I want to achieve. Okay. By the way, the target audience, no, you're presenting the plan to Crystal, the owner, or to an investor who will say, okay, present to me a plan, and if I agree with it, I'll invest more money in this business to build the brand. Okay, so that's the first model you can follow. What are the outcomes that you want? And when you describe the outcome, you have to be very smarts. What smarts? Specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, time-bound, and stretch with your outcomes. Doesn't have to be one. Again, you can have more branches, more customers, more. Just be very specific about it. Okay, so that's the first part. Okay, again, if Crystal is sitting and trying to evaluate, you're making it clear. This will be the result if we implement the plan. Okay, what's the next step? The next step is why you want those outcomes. Why the new customers? Why more Facebook likes? Why do this? Why do that? Okay, so there must be the reasons why you want those outcomes, and you should explain that. The third element, Z, alphabet in reverse, Y, is X. Okay, so it's also very useful to make clear what you will not do, what task, what projects, what activities, what options, brand extensions, whatever you will not do because these are in conflict with your Z. Okay, this will not be consistent with achieving the Z. So list it down also. So maybe I've said it, maybe not, but sometimes these are the most important things. No, it's much easier, much more easy. It's easier to say what you cannot do, the few things that you cannot do, than the million things you want to do. For instance, in the Old Testament, diba, 10 commandments, you can do a million things, but not these 10 commandments. In Garden of Eden, diba, don't eat the apple. Yun lang ang rule, diba? So for your brand plan, what will you not do? Okay, make it clear. I will not do this because, or we don't recommend doing this because. We don't recommend additional branches. We don't recommend a brand extension or a rebranding or whatever. Okay, so make it clear what you will not do with the X. Now, when you go to W, this is the typical plan. What, where, when, who does it, how to do it. Okay, these are the W's you recommend, which will achieve the outcomes which are supported by the reasons why and are not in conflict with the excess that you said you will not do. Okay, so actually the model I have, there are 4 more letters, but for the brand plan, I'm happy with, again, Z, the end, Y, the reason why, X, what you will not do, and the W's. Okay, so that's one model to present the plan. What's a second model? This is also very intuitive and tells a very good story. You can do this, no, if you're not too keen on the ZYX. It's called the Spader. And if you look at any infomercial, you will notice that the approach of Spader, which is the situation, the problem, the alternative solutions, the decision, and the execution and review are how infomercials work. Okay, you will see what's happening, the problems, what are the normal solutions, and so on. So let's just see it in a little more detail. So the situationer summarizes the things that are happening, what are the relevant key facts, what are the insights which may be unstated, and then how they relate to the possible problem. So that's S of Spader. P is the problem. What's the problem? What's the main problem? That if you solve this main problem, you solve the other problems as well. Okay? A are the alternatives. All the alternative solutions must each be doable or realistic. No? Don't put something that is just there just to mention that you have an alternative solution. No? All alternative solutions must be realistic. And the first choice would always be looking at the root cause of the problem. Okay, they should make sense and they should be implementable. And when you discuss the alternatives, you can evaluate the feasibility of each alternative. Okay, and then you decide. No? Deciding means is similar to the X in the ZYXY. If you decide on something, then you are also deciding on not doing other things. Okay, so you decide to recommend, okay, this is the benefits and the cost of this solution, solution A, solution B. And the first solution is always just maintain the status quo. Don't do anything. Maintain the existing branch, the existing brand, the existing everything. You're happy with that. Or instead of just maintaining the status quo, you might want to move to a new direction, which again delivers the outcomes that you want. Okay. Finally, the W's are the critical items on the execution. Okay, it's the efficient and effective use of the resources. This will indicate again the who's, what's, when's of the plan. Okay, and then you try to review all of the execution versus the objectives. You evaluate if outcome is not achieved, what's your plan B or plan C. And that basically is Spader. No? Situation, what's happening, the problem, the key problem, alternative solutions, the decision, and how you execute and review the plan. So that's what I was taught in 1994. No? Now, the third one is similar to that. It's called SOSTAC. SOSTAC is, again, an acronym for situation analysis. Instead of problem, it's an objective. Instead of alternatives and decision, it's strategy, tactics, action. And then the last one is control. So again, it's a different way of thinking about it. Instead of a problem, it's an outcome or a Z, the end in mind. Okay, so this was developed in 2012. Just some things which explain each one. I'll not repeat it anymore. Okay, so this is interesting, no? Number 4 is actually a get to buy strategy, which is more about using an actual campaign. So I included it here just to give you an idea, but Jonathan Hawson said, In his speech in our class 2017, strategy is about getting from point A to point B. It's a change in behavior. So it's really get a target market, that's the who, to do what, okay, get to do what by doing this. No, so ganyan kasimple yung strategy niya. Get who to do what by doing this. Okay? So, for instance, the strategy or the end in mind is to get from, wag naman zero, sabihin mo na 20 million to 50 million revenue daily. That's the strategy. So what do you want is get your target audience, the taxi riders, to do what? To watch the video, download the app, and by doing that, okay? So it's a very simple way to show that this is my target market, this is what I want them to do, and a little more details on what you want them to do. Get to buy, okay? So the fifth one, a little more different terms, but it's also very similar to Spader and Sostak. Why? Psy OEM is a situation. What's the challenge? Again, challenge is another way of saying the problem or the objective. What I like about the Psy OEM though is there's an insight. Okay? What insight, what understanding do you have about the market or the customer, which will dictate the options and the execution that you want to do? So the insight portion is not an element of it's not explicitly stated in Spader and Sosta. Okay? So this is the marketing insight, the understanding of the customer and the market, which will again be the ingredient for your proposed options and execution. Okay, so the Psy again is situation, the challenge, problem or pain, the insight based on the customer, the market, or the third thing is market theory. No? That's why we read the book. No? You might have read something about brand architecture, brand extension, managing brand consistency over markets, geographic and over time. So that can be the insight that will drive the options that you propose and the execution. All right. So you'll see this. No. So the situation is really about where you are. The challenge is what's the problem or the pain of the customer and the impact of that pain to what you want to achieve. Okay. So insights are the key to marketing success. No. So a deeper understanding of customer, of the market, which includes competition and the relevant marketing theory. Okay, so options again are similar to alternatives, are the choices that you can choose from, and again details of your execution. Okay, so the metrics can be quantitative and qualitative versus specific targets and budgets. And if you were to actually execute it, part of the report would be what could have been done better on the campaign and what you can do better next time. Okay, so comparison of the three, they're very, very similar. You start with where Silong Cafe is, what is the challenge, the problem, or the end in mind. Try to have insight based on customer, market, and marketing theory when you propose your options, the things you will do and not do, and how will you measure it and execute it. Okay, so situation is A, problem is Y, execution includes, and decision and execution is X and W. The get to buy is very similar to the Psy OM. Okay, so these are the models that you will consider. Now, traditionally in my standard marketing class, I make it simple and I propose an 11P marketing plan. So the brand plan is actually a subset of a marketing plan, but you will notice that it's also very similar to what we've shown. So number one is what's the profile of your primary target market? So it's your brand persona. Who do you want to sell to? What's their problem or pain? What's the solution to the pain? Because your your target market does have a solution to their pain. And what is the brand's unique selling proposition to that solution, to that pain, okay? Customer pain. Then there's positioning maps that can be used to show the points of parity and points of differentiation with the competitors. You estimate the market size. Then 7, 8, 9, 10 are the 4 P's of the marketing mix. What's the product strategy, the pricing strategy, the promotions, and the play strategies. And the last one is what we call the Panalo winning strategy, because in the end, again, if you recall the I Love marketing model, you are either low cost, you're differentiated, or you're niche. So you identify that. Okay. So these are basically 6 models to choose from. For reporting your brand plan, you can combine them. You can just choose one or none. No? It's up to you, because even in the book, there's no standard brand plan proposed. Okay? So